Well, hello and welcome to our backyard garden here in the South Carolina upstate. We're in Greer, South Carolina on Friday, September 5th, 2025. This is our 27th episode of the season, and we're going to take you on a quick tour of our backyard. We just finished our front yard video a few minutes ago, and it's a beautiful Friday morning, sunny, about 75 degrees, just perfect weather for a video like this. Now, I have done some cleaning up. If you look at our video from last week, you're going to see a lot of weeds. There's still a lot of weeds, but not as many as there were. Even along this area here, I've cut back a lot of things that had died for the year. We had both cleome like this and snapdragons growing up out of the concrete, but they had all finished up for the year. So I just cut them back to look a little bit nicer. There were a lot of weeds in this area. I cleared those back as well, but we do have these cleome that are still doing well, even though they've gotten kind of gangly and spindly towards the end of the season. Got more of those down here. This is another area where we had a lot of those traditionally, and they're all, for the most part, doing pretty well. And you can see where they've already grown. As they get taller and taller, the flowers lead to these seed pots. So we get tremendous numbers of seeds, which is why they keep coming back year after year. Now, over in here, this is primarily an iris bed, but it doesn't look like it right now. We have tons of holly that have come back. There were holly bushes here when we moved into this house 7 years ago, and we cut them back because they just weren't very attractive. Unfortunately, getting the roots on hollies is almost impossible, and you have to cut them back frequently. I just did that about 7 months ago, and unfortunately they are back with a vengeance. They're actually worse now than they were, which concerns me. I think this is something I'm going to have to start doing on a much more frequent basis to keep these under control. And the other one that is kind of a similar problem is this huge canna, which kind of got inadvertently transplanted into this bed when we put these irises in. The irises do really well, so they don't have a huge problem being pushed out. But at the same time, I don't want the hollies and canna to take over this bed, because it's easy to do. Now, I will say most of our canna have not done real well, and as you look at this plant, I think they all have some sort of parasite on them, but despite that, we have these really nice sort of tropical looking red flowers, so that's kind of nice. And as soon as that stops blooming, I'm just going to cut the whole thing out and try to get back in there and get all the holly and everything else. The other thing that's been growing in large numbers is the morning glories, and I'm getting out here just a little bit too late. Last week I got out here pretty early in the day, and we were able to see a lot of the morning glories, but they've all kind of withered here. You can just see them in the process of withering. These are normally blue, but then when they start to wither like that in the sun, they take on more of a lavender color. But you can see the morning glories have, at least the greenery has taken over a huge part of the yard here, and I've actually cut it back. It was coming across and over into the roses here. I cut that part out, but I don't have the heart to completely get rid of them, because the flowers are pretty in the early morning. If I'd gotten out here a little bit earlier, you could see that today. And then coming over here, this turns out to be a weed. I'd been asking about this. Somebody was kind enough to give me information on it, and since I learned about this, I've seen these on in a number of other places down here. They have little faint white flowers that you can see there, and then they eventually turn into these green berries, which will eventually, when they ripen, they'll be sort of a dark purple color. It is a weed. It's sometimes hard to eradicate, but it's kind of pretty, and I think a lot of people that have them down here just have them as an ornamental shrub, and it is nice looking, so I'm not going to get rid of it. Something to be aware of, though: it is poisonous. Do not eat the berries. Do not eat the leaves. It will give you severe diarrhea and potentially other significant metabolic problems that you do not want to deal with. So look, but do not touch or eat. There, I was looking to see if I had any berries that had ripened. That's the only one so far, but all these green berries up in here that you see are going to eventually turn purple like that. I've seen a number of others around the area doing that. Now, coming down the side, we have our hydrangeas. We have 4 of these big ones with the white flower pods on them. Now, they peaked about a month ago. They're slowly fading and changing color from the bright white to more of a pale green with some pink in them, and then eventually they'll just start to turn brown. You start to see that, and some of these others back in here are getting some of that brown on them, and eventually that's what they'll be. Now, I spent a lot of time last weekend cleaning up this bed around our fire pit. There were all kinds of weeds and cleome and other things back in here, and I just went through and got it all cleared out, so that area looks a little bit better. But there's a lot of stuff back in here that's really kind of difficult to clear out, because you don't want to just eliminate them. You want to give like some of these Asiatic lilies. We have a lot of those in this area, and they are all just kind of lingering, but they're by photosynthesizing with the leaves, they're giving their bulbs a little more strength for next year. So I'm just going to leave them alone. Even the ones that have these huge seed pods on them, they're starting to look at this time of year kind of like cucumbers more than anything else. Still have a few impatiens that are hanging in there. For the most part, our impatiens have not done well this year. Last year they did really well. We had a cluster right in here that did great, but then we put the same thing in this year, did not do well. The year before that, they did not do well. It's really been hit and miss. Sort of alternate years they'll do well, but I think at this point I'm not going to bother with impatiens in the future. I think they're too erratic, and I mean, you get maybe 1 or 2 plants that do well and the rest not so much. It's not really worth the effort as far as I'm concerned. Up here is a butterfly bush. We have 2 of these. The other one, you can barely see it here. It's so covered up by the hydrangea, but you can see a few of those dark pink or magenta colored flowers. This one is not so covered up, so we're getting these beautiful bright flowers. And for the most part, this peaked about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, but right now it's still giving us some color, enough color that it's worth looking at, and it does brighten up this side of the yard. And other things largely finished for the year. We have a lot of daylilies back in here, more of the Asiatic lilies, and big knockout rose here with a large clematis growing on top of it. Those come out strongly in the spring, but right now not really doing much. We've got our 6 big azaleas back in here. They're sort of teasing us right now with some of these flowers. I think we're going to be getting a lot more flowers come October, but right now it's giving us some nice color. There isn't a lot of other color that you can see from the house. Now, close up you can see some things that we're going to show off here shortly, but I've been doing a lot of weeding back in this area too. We had a lot of branches and a lot of vines coming across the fence from next door. Got a lot of that stuff cleared out, but a lot of weeds still through here that are going to take some serious work before the end of the year. Coming through here, some more zinnias. These were put in from seed back in the spring. We have a lot more of those in the front yard, as you can see from that video, but we have a few that have survived. We have a bunch over on the other side, and something, we don't know if it's a deer or what, came through and ate most of them right down to the ground. So This is one of the few little patches of zinnias that we have in the front or in the backyard right now. Now over here we have our big knockout. This, for whatever reason, this particular knockout rose blooms all through the season, from really from March or April all the way into October, probably even into November. A lot of the others kind of finish off. They get the big seed pods. This one isn't really prone to seed pods. It just keeps flowering. At any given time, you're always going to see some of these beautiful blood red flowers on it, and makes it just really an ideal plant. It's also been very hardy. Even after a beaver came through and ate it almost down to the ground, it has come back to this extent, about 5 feet tall this year. Now over here on the trellis, we have 3 things growing. We have primarily these pink climbing roses, but we also have a lot of jasmine, which bloom in the early summer, and then clematis that is primarily a spring bloomer. But it has really covered over the trellis pretty thoroughly, to the point where I'm going to need to do some cutting back before too long. It's almost getting to the point where you have to duck to get through here. I've already cut it back a couple times this year, but I'm going to have to do some more. Interestingly, I mentioned clematis. We don't get too much of that this time of year, but here we have one. This one just happens to be growing right up here, and it's kind of nice. It's growing up on top of this climbing rose. This is one of the few weeks that I haven't seen a flower blooming on this climbing rose. It usually has at least one, even though it struggles with black spot, as you can see. This climber usually loses its leaves fairly early in the season, but then it continues to put out lots of flowers. But this week, not so much. Now we are getting out early enough today to see the spiderwort, and these are nice little purple flowers that have really taken root in this area. We're not seeing them do particularly well anywhere else in the garden, but right here they're very happy. And then back in here we just have some random things. We have this little dark pink wildflower. Don't know the name of it, but it's one that was given to us some time ago. And behind that, some nice pink roses. This is just a standard tea rose. Same thing with this one, a little more of a bright red color, almost an orangish red. This one has been doing really well, but it would do a lot better if I would come out here and cut off these seed pods, which are huge. They're the size of olives at this point, and that's something I'm hoping next year that I will be better at, and that is getting out here and deadheading on a regular basis, and just kind of getting rid of weeds in general. I have not been good with that. I'm just starting to do it now. You can see this maple tree just growing up out of nowhere, and I honestly didn't even notice that in the last couple of weeks, and here it is. Those things grow very quickly once they get going. The one thing I have been doing, just because it does make a big difference in how the yard looks, is spraying for weeds like grasses that grow into this area of stones that we have along the border here. And I wouldn't say it looks fantastic because you're seeing a lot of dead vegetation through here, but when you look from a distance, it looks better than just having the grass growing all through there, which is what it was doing before that. So I just took Roundup, sprayed it a couple times, and it's really gotten rid of a lot of the weeds. Now some of them I'm going to have to go through and pull, but a lot of the ones right along the border and some of the smaller ones that are really difficult to pull, it does a great job of cutting those back. And grasses that tend to creep in too. Now over here we have a beautiful butterfly bush. This one is more of a bright purple color. The other one was more of a magenta color. This one usually blooms about a month after the others, and that's why it's still doing so well. Hopefully it'll continue to bloom like this for a while. You see these huge stalks of purple. It's just an absolutely gorgeous plant. You can see this from quite a distance. Now, I mentioned zinnias. We had a whole bunch of zinnias back through here, but whatever came through and ate them, it ate almost all of them, but there are a few that have survived, and we're still getting a few flowers out of them, which is nice to see. The other thing that's kind of fun, I thought these were long since finished, and I'm seeing at least one right now. This is a balloon flower. We had a bunch of these all through this part of the bed. We put them in last year and they came back, but most of them finished up back in June or early July, and here we still have a few giving us a little bit more color. Some daylilies here that have finished up, calla lilies over here. Looks like just about everything else in this part of the bed is about done right now. Lots and lots of weeds, unfortunately, and then we have our big weeping cherry here. And our big wisteria here. Unfortunately, I'm seeing a canna that has grown come across the fence. I'm going to have to get that. But when you see the wisteria, we talk about invasive. This thing was put in 5 years ago, and you can see the size of its trunk. That is one solid plant. If I wanted to get rid of it, which I don't, it would be very difficult to eradicate at this point because it's just taken over. But there's nothing else really in this corner of the garden, so I'm happy, especially in the springtime when it comes out with its big clusters of purple flowers. I absolutely love those. Now the rest of our canna, this is our main area of canna, and I am happy to have them here because they are largely penned in by the railroad ties. Having said that, we do have some that have kind of jumped across just by seeding, and they've come up over there, so that's something I'm going to have to get on top of before they take over. I think they are about done for the year, though. I'm not seeing any more of the yellow. We have the two types of flowers here. The yellow ones that grow on the light green plants, and then the dark green give us the red. I thought I still saw one red back in here, but now I don't see it. There's one yellow flower, very tropical looking flower back in there, and that's about it. And we have, again, a lot of weeds here. I need to get down here. Hopefully by the end of September I'll be able to get down this way. I'm just kind of working my way from front to back and trying to get just some of these trees and bushes that have grown up in this area, just try to get them out of here. Over here is a good example. We've got a maple tree, actually a couple maple trees growing in the middle of this bed, a bunch of canna, and that's not what we wanted here. What we wanted on this side were primarily irises and daylilies, and unfortunately we've got this stuff. More, at least two more maple trees, three more maple trees, and then this weed, a lot of weeds back in here. They've really gotten in the way of the daylilies, which hung in there. They gave us some flowers, but it wasn't as good as what we had hoped. So it's gonna be a lot of work to get this on track next year. Now, while we're down here, I'm just gonna take a look at our water lily and see what it's doing. I think it gets typically about one flower a week, and it looks like it had that bud down there. It looks like it already bloomed, and it's kind of finished up for the time being. We might get another one next week. I don't know how late in the season that will continue to bloom, but we'll find out. Now, again, I don't spend a lot of time down here at the pond, at least not in these videos. But you can see some little fish, mostly small fish. Every once in a while, I'll see people out there fishing across the pond, and they'll pull in various types of fish that are maybe 6 to 12 inches in length. But we have quite a little ecosystem here. Got an area over there on the far side of the lot that I've really let go to just weeds. It's very difficult to keep up with, but when I get a chance, I'm going to try to stay on top of that. Now over here, this area really took off with weeds this year, and I just sprayed these last week, so hopefully some of these grasses will kind of die off a little bit. It's a nice place to sit, especially in the afternoon, or really just about any time. It's very peaceful down here at the water's edge, and it's just it's been tough keeping up with nature. Plants love growing near water, and you have to really work hard at keeping them from taking over. So that's going to be my job for the remainder of this month and maybe into October as well. So having said all that, we're going to come back up the stairs here and head back up to the house. I did a lot of work over here last weekend, but there's a lot more work yet to be done. I will stop real quickly here at our little tea olives. This is kind of interesting. I was not aware that these bloom twice a year. A lot of things do bloom twice a year down here, and this is one of them. These bloomed in the spring, and again, you can see lots and lots of these flowers. It's a faint scent. It's very pleasant. Not quite as nice as the roses, but we have 8 of these. It's a nice border. They've grown very slowly over the last 6 years, but it does give us a nice border to the bed. And then I deadheaded some of these roses last week, and already I'm seeing some growth. So maybe we'll get some more flowers. In fact, right here, speaking of growth, we've got a couple of buds, so we'll have some more flowers here before too long. And it looks like on this yellow knockout, we've got some buds. So hopefully we're going to be getting a few more roses before the end of the year. Our growing season around here really varies. It just depends on when you get your first frost. Last year we really had almost a record length of a growing season. It lasted until our first frost came in, I think it was December 1st. But then the year before that, it was mid-October, a good 6 weeks earlier. So you just never know what you're going to get. The weather down here is a bit of a box of chocolates. Got a few Veronica here that are still blooming. You can just barely see them back in there. The insects love those. Got lots of marigolds here that have just sort of kind of appeared. We didn't plant them down here, but we were doing a lot of work with marigold seeds up on the deck back in the spring, and I think some of them just washed down here and have done very well. Then we got these zinnias. This is one of the few zinnias that we have that's all one color, all the bright pink, and those look really nice. A few morning glories that are still in bloom over here. In fact, 2 different ones on the same vine, strangely enough. This one is just a pure white color. Another one over here that's a pure white, and then this one has the little pink streaks on it. So what else do we have? All this is done for the year. We have daylilies, calla lilies, some lilacs back in here, some more of the morning glories starting to fade in the sun, but I will be pulling those all down once they're done blooming. And that brings us up to our biggest climbing rose, the one with the little pink flowers on it. And when you look, usually I see them on this side where they get the most sun. And I wasn't really aware until recently that when they first come out, you get 2 different colors, light and dark. So when they're not getting bleached out by the sun, you tend to see that a little bit more. These are, you see a little bit of the difference, but not a lot. Yeah, when they first bloom, they're very, very impressive. And they'll continue to bloom off and on, probably through, I'd say, the end of October. Again, depending on the weather. But they're just put out tremendous numbers of these buds every year. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of them, or maybe probably thousands, really, from one end of the season to the other. So a lot of work still to be done, but I'm trying to get this backyard in under control. It's a beautiful backyard, but any of you who have a garden know that it takes a lot of work, and the more plants you have, the more yard space you have, the more work it takes. And we only have a half acre total, so it's not a huge yard, but we have a lot of variation of different types of flowers, and just as many types of weeds, and keeping up with those is probably the hardest part of this. And I don't even do fertilization. Hopefully next year I will be doing a little bit more of that if I have the time, and maybe we'll get even brighter flowers than we have so far. So that's it for this week. Hope you've enjoyed our tour. Hope it's sunny wherever you are, and until next time, happy gardening.